Hi, this is the Essential Me series. This is Essential Animals, hosted by Gretchen Royer. And we will show you some stuff here in regards to the Essential Me series. We've had emotional balance with Andy Tippie. We have essential families with the Kiefers. We've had women's health, men's health, financial health, brain health, and now we're on to essential animals health. And we have our guest, Gretchen Royer, here. The current series, next we were going to have essential skin and body care. Unfortunately, with Melissa's schedule, we're not going to be able to do that next week. It is Mother's Day, so you get a weekend off. How's that? And we will post when we're going to be able to do her essential skin and body care at a later date. We still have essential baking and cooking coming May 20th. And that's with Karen Brown, pastry chef out at Marriott. And she's going to show us some great ways to do your essential oils with baking and cooking. Today is Essential Animals. So today we have Gretchen Royer. Gretchen has had 124 years of experience with 19 different fur family members, cats, during her adult life. She's not that old, trust me. She has reviewed their diets and tended to all sorts of medical needs. In the process, she has used Eastern medicine, Western medicine, and has incorporated the use of doTERRA essential oils now for a little over a year. And as a side note, she has 4 tortoises. So it's not just cats. She loves all animals. So I'm here to introduce you to Gretchen Royer.
All right, thanks, Tina, and thanks for the opportunity to share the things that have helped my household. I look forward to helping other households grow and be healthy in the same way. Some of the things that I do in general is when my cats have a fight, like let's say I'm upstairs in bed and I can hear them downstairs and it breaks out. I just run downstairs, put about 3 drops of lavender in the diffuser, fill it up with as much water as I can, and then just go to bed. And that usually calms everybody down enough to get them through the night. Tension isn't a huge deal in our house, but I currently have 13 cats, so it does pop up from time to time. Another thing that I do is my cat Egypt had half of her lung removed about 3 years ago. And this time of year when it starts to get hot in Phoenix, she goes outside and her breathing just gets labored. And I have a hard time getting her to come back inside, but I force her in, and with my vet's blessing, I diffuse breathe, and that just helps her with her lung health and helps her absorb as much as she can with the breath that she takes in the 1.5 lungs that she's got left. A little trick that I do when I'm having company over is I'll put a drop of Purify in each of the litter boxes. It's just kind of my way of hiding the fact that I have so much going on in my house litter box wise. And then my cat Toby is fighting lower intestinal cancer. And in addition to the medication that he's taking, I diffuse On Guard for 30 minutes every night when I put him to bed. And I've made a cancer blend that I got out of Spoil Your Pet. And I put it in a roller ball and I put it on my hands and try to rub it on his belly. He's not always super cooperative, but I do what I can with that. And then I think the most, what's the word I'm looking for? The biggest impact that doTERRA essential oils have made for my cat's health is when I took in a cat about almost a year ago that I had seen online, and she looked really sick and didn't belong in the shelter. She was sicker than I thought she was when I took her in, and that is going to be my little Hillary. So the picture on the left is I took her straight to my vet's office after I picked her up and saw that she was so sick. And I didn't realize it at the time, but in that picture, she's having a neurological episode. She ultimately was diagnosed with cerebellar hyperplasia. I'm probably putting R's in where I shouldn't and taking some out. But that means that her cerebellum is small and that she has issues with motor function, depth perception, and mobility in general. And she was about 2 months old and found somewhere, I don't really know, a police officer brought her into the shelter, and beyond that, I don't know where she was or what her story was, but I don't know if she was malnourished and it exacerbated her symptoms, or if her symptoms kept her from keeping up and then she became malnourished. But then the picture in the right is kind of her life for about the first 2 weeks that she was at my house, where we would just carry her into whatever room we were in and she would just lay there with her head down. So in addition to the things that my vet was doing, which really weren't for her neurological condition, she had conjunctivitis and an upper respiratory condition. That's what we were having her medicated for. But in addition to that, I did a little more research and learned that peppermint is great for neurological conditions. When you have an eensy-weensy little kitten who weighs about 1.5 pounds and she's already super sick, and you know how powerful peppermint is, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. So to be super mega ultra sensitive, I would open up the bottle, leave it upright, slide the palm of my hand across it, so I barely had any type of oil on my hands at all. Then I'd rub them together, and then I would barely pat the outside of her fur until I could barely smell it on her. And she responded well to it. She didn't have any type of a negative reaction. She didn't seem to pull away. As Tina and I have talked about in the past, her fur acted like straws. So I didn't have to worry about getting it down on the skin. I didn't have to worry about getting it close to her head in some way. Just getting it into her system helped her neurological condition. And the vet, like I said, gave us a blessing, to continue doing that. And so within about 1.5 weeks, we were able to make some progress. And I'll show you the first video I have of her actually moving on her feet, the first thing that I would consider walking, even though it was a far cry from any other cat her age. And so here we go on that video. So you can see she didn't go very far, but I was worried when I took her to the vet and insisted on bringing her home and treating her. I was worried that I was doing it for me and didn't have her best interest in heart. And there were definitely people at my vet's office that kind of acted like that's what I was doing. So to have this moment, to see such a huge leap in progress for her, just really, it was such a weight off my shoulders that she was going to be okay. This next video is the first time she played. And that was the other thing that I remember talking to my husband about when she was so sick. I said, a kitten this age should just be climbing the curtains and playing. I mean, they drive you crazy, but at least they're healthy. So this was the first time that she played. I didn't say she was good at it, but it was the first time she did it. And then, because I'm, like a typical cat mom, I've got a bajillion videos. This is kind of when I stopped worrying. This is about the phase where I thought she was going to be okay. And I would say she was about 3 months at this point, and I'd had her about a month. I did nothing for her neurological condition except for the peppermint oil and just overall nutrition, just getting her back up to a healthy weight. And I was just really excited that worked. I did it probably 2 or 3 times a day. And I probably did it about 3 weeks all, total. And then this is my most recent video of her. As you can see, she's a beast. I had no idea she was going to get that big or that cute, so I'm super excited. And she's just normal. So the only symptoms that she still has today are really subtle. If you came over and saw her for the first time, you would think you just kind of caught her in an awkward move. She Like if she's sitting down and she's leaning over like this and scratching her head, she'll kind of lose her balance and curl, like tumble over, and it's the cutest thing. And then if she gets super worked up, she'll kind of like walk funny, and you would just think that it was a cat that was feisty, but she does it every time. So I know it's related to her mobility. And she can't jump more than a couple of feet. So she can get up onto the couch, but not the credenza, which works great because she loves to hang out in the backyard, and I don't like my cats staying out there long enough to start roaming, but she can't jump the fence. So, and I don't know that she's ever going to. So it works for me. I'm cool with that. So not everybody just has cats though. So there are solutions for cats and dogs. One thing you definitely want to make sure that you're careful about is the dilution. We can handle so much more than they can. We have different bodies and we're much bigger than they are. So you can see for puppies that are young and for cats, the dilution ratio is pretty substantial. I prefer to use a roller ball for everything I make, even if I'm, and not even if I always do apply it with my hand anyway. So I'll kind of roll it around and spread it and pat it on. So 250 drops for those puppies and cats to 2 drops of essential oil. If you have a small dog or an elderly dog, it's less. I was going to say half, but it's not quite half. So 85 to 100 drops per one. And then larger dogs over 20 pounds, you can do 50 drops of carrier oil to 1 essential oil. And the hot oils, I personally just avoid. I think if it was a life or death situation and I wanted to see if it could help, I might consider it. And in that case, you want to do 100 drops to 1. But that's going to be on the animals that don't get that 250 to 2. You don't want to do it more concentrated, of course. Probably didn't have to explain that to you, but I figured since I was talking, I should point that out. I'm a big fan of using the oils aromatically through a diffuser. So like I said, with the cats and the lavender oil, that's how I do it. With Toby and On Guard, that's how I do it. They also really, cats in particular, like stimulation of open boxes. I'm sure I'm not telling anybody anything they didn't know. I like to set up a box if I receive something that I've ordered online and put a few drops of things that I know that they're interested in, just to kind of enhance that stimulation, but it still gives them the opportunity to clear the area if it's too strong or not a scent that they like. But then you can see here that there are a lot of different ways that you can use it, just depending on what you're using. You know, if you're using it medically, you want to make sure that you're not keeping it too far away from them, but also giving them a chance to get out. And then topically, I haven't personally done a ton of, but I did recently have a friend whose dog was just itching and scratching incessantly. This poor thing. I don't know how old she is, probably 3 or 4-year-old pit bull named Zoe. And she's just having major allergies. It could be seasonal, I don't know, but it's her skin from head to toe, tummy to back. And she's scratching herself bloody. So I actually, going back to spoil your pet, made her a mix of lavender and melaleuca and diluted it with the doTERRA fractionated coconut oil in a roller ball and asked my friend to put it on her hand and then pat it on the dog on her torso and legs, and then work her way up closer to the head if she seemed like she was really tolerant of it, keep it away from eyes, ears, genitals. But she said that she's already noticing a difference in the dog scratching, but she also said the dog just loves it and comes for it. So Zoe has gotten to recognize what the bottle looks like when she gets it out and like comes in super interested for it. So it's fun that I'm also, giving the dog something that she likes, because we all feel good when we're smelling something that we like. And then there are other ways to apply it. There's the massage method, reflexology points, apply directly to the area of interest. So like with Toby with his story, I put it on his belly. You can mix a drop into their shampoo and apply during a bath, which is great. I don't bathe my cats, but if I had a dog, I would certainly look into this. And then there's a recipe there for a cold or hot compress. And then I've already mentioned that the roller balls are what I like to use. And then I haven't actually tried internally myself. A capsule is just not ever going to be an option for cats. But if I had a dog, I've seen them take capsules very well of other types of medication. You can mix it with their food. You can rub it in their mouth, which I love when people write that. I feel like they've never had a pet. My vet told me to put medicine in their cheek pouch once. And I was like, if half of it stays in their mouth, I consider that successful. Are you kidding me? Like I can choose where in the mouth? No. And then you can put, not recommended for cats, but you can put the oil in their drinking water. you can use essential oils as cleansers in their bowls and things like that. And you want to make sure you rinse it and let it dry. But that's another way to use it as well. And then if you are the sort of person who's dedicated enough to brush their teeth, then there's a recipe for natural toothpaste as well. My vet tells me to do it, but this part, I don't need to tell you, this part should be taken seriously. Refer to it anytime you're about to apply a new oil or one that you haven't applied in a while, just to remember, remembering this correctly, because, a bad reaction would be heartbreaking. Even if it didn't cause them a lot of harm, it would still be heartbreaking. So with dogs, you're looking at birch, melaleuca, and wintergreen. Use caution with hot oils. On the cat side, it's got a lot more on there because, there's so much higher maintenance always than dogs anyways. The minty stuff, the heavily spiced stuff. Side note on the citrus, that can actually be used to deter cats. So if you have an area that you don't want them to go into, a couch you don't want them to get on, or you don't have cats and you want them to stay out of your yard, I've actually cut up citrus and laid it around my yard before in places I didn't want the cats to go. It's not necessarily harmful to them. It's just that they really don't like it. So it's a good way to deter them. And then of course, they've got these specific medical and health precautions that you'd want to look out for when using these specific oils. But of course, that's going to be broader than that. And if your pet does have any type of medical issue whatsoever, you'd want to double check with your vet or do your research to see if whatever oil you've picked out is going to be a good fit for them. And then going back to spoil your pet. So right after I started using doTERRA, which was about 1.5 years ago, we must have had a gift giving occasion like Valentine's or something. My husband said, "What do you want?" And I said, "I want Spoil Your Pet." And he made a face and I said, that essential oil book for pets. He's like, "Got it." So when I opened my present, it was some book called Essential Oil Book for Pets. That's not what I asked for. And it was a pamphlet, basically, and it was very frustrating because I forget which oil in particular, but in 2 different sections of the book, it said that one oil could be used for cats, and the other section said you should avoid using it for cats. And the whole book lost any kind of credibility for me. So then I had to go on my own and get the book I actually wanted, and I've been very pleased with it. It's very easy to navigate. It's got a lot of conditions in there, and I feel like they know what they're talking about. It just kind of makes sense. And then as Tina mentioned, I do have tortoises. I haven't had the occasion to use any oils on them yet, but it's fun that, just as on ourselves, we've got so many options for using it in our, our food and in our emotional health and aromatically and eating it. We can use it on cats and dogs. Yeah, use it on your reptiles. Find ways to use it in your garden. So depending on what kind of scaly or shelled family members you have, that's an option too. If you run into a situation where they've suddenly developed a cut or there's something else that you're looking into, make sure that you consider your essential oils. You paid for them, may as well use them. Here are some fun recipes to address some things that we all like to pretend like don't happen. And this is a good way to erase that and live that reality. If you have dried carpet pet stains, here's a really easy, cheap, environmentally friendly way to handle that. These are great chemicals, scientifically speaking, to bring into your house without adding anything harsh. With babies and pets crawling around on the floor, you don't want to leave a bunch of residue behind. Wet carpet pet stains. You've got your other recipe here. Dog smell, huh? Who loves dog smell? All right, nobody. Good. Lemongrass and lavender. Why aren't we just making this and spraying it? I don't have a dog, but why am I not just spraying that on my carpet? Cat litter box smell. Let's all take a moment and thank the person who discovered baking soda. And then you're adding lavender or geranium, and then combine it gradually to the bottom of the litter box. And it's nice to just not have to deal with that stuff and pretend like you don't have a cat toilet in your house, I guess is where I was going with that. So I'm going to stop my portion of this. It's been really fun to have this opportunity to come forward. Of course, I love partnering with Tina and learning more about all this stuff. And thanks for your time.
Thank you, Gretchen. Lots of great information for both dogs and cats. Go to Essential Partners for any takeaway materials like we had for the pet stains and such, or smells, and as well as the tortoises, turtles, and other amphibians that might be in your lives. Then my statement for the FDA. The FDA has not evaluated anything that we've said here, and seek your healthcare provider, in this case your vet, should you make any changes in your pet's health care. Now we will open it up for questions.